Why invite me if the whole point was to push me aside? That question hit me before I even sat down. My name is Derek. I am 37 years old, living in Portland, Oregon. Until that night, I honestly believed my wife's family at least tried to keep up the act of liking me. But what happened over dinner showed me the truth. It was a Tuesday evening. I remember because I had turned down a late call with a client just so I could be there. The place was downtown, an expensive steakhouse called the Sterling, the kind with valet parking only, and waiters dressed like they were going to an award show. Catherine, my wife, had said her family wanted to get together. She had not exactly asked me to join, but the way she mentioned it made it sound like I was expected. I showed up in a navy jacket and a pressed shirt, uh, outfit I figured would buy me a few minutes before my mother-in-law, Victoria, found something to mock. At the podium, I gave the host my name. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. Derek Morgan, I said, waiting for the usual smile and wave toward a table. Instead, he frowned. I am sorry, sir. I do not see a reservation under that name. Maybe it is under Harrison, I told him. That is my father-in-law's last name. I am supposed to meet them here. He scanned the page again. Yes, here it is. A table for 6 under Mr. Robert Harrison. They are already seated. Already seated? That stopped me cold. The host pointed, and I spotted them in a booth by the window. Catherine, her parents, and her 2 sisters. Everyone dressed up, sipping wine, smiling and laughing like they were in an advertisement for perfect families. Derek, came a voice right behind me. I turned and there was Victoria, my mother-in-law, standing like she had been waiting just for this moment. She looked me over as if she could not believe I had made it inside on my own. Oh, Derek, she said, pretending to be surprised. You did not actually think you were invited, did you? At first, I wanted to laugh it off, maybe believe it was some kind of twisted joke. But the little smirk on her lips told me she was dead serious. Her voice was calm, polished, and cutting. Behind her, Catherine kept her head down, stirring her drink like none of this was happening. Her sisters, they had seen me. I know they did. But both of them ducked behind their glasses of wine, hiding smiles. I just stood there like a fool, frozen in place. The poor kid at the podium shifted from foot to foot, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Victoria leaned closer, dropping her voice. This place is a little above your level, that there's a sports bar down the street. That might suit you better. I swallowed. I had taken Victoria's insults before, her digs, her sideways compliments, her fake manners. I had played along, let it slide. But this time was different. This was not some slip of the tongue. This was staged. A planned insult with an audience watching. And then it hit me. I remembered a name, a connection, something they did not know about, something that shifted the balance right there. Victoria tilted her head like she was studying a stain she could not scrub out. You look confused, Derek. Honestly, I thought Catherine would have mentioned it. I saw Catherine glance up for a second, but she never met my eyes. She looked at her wine glass like the answer was in the bottom. Her sisters, Ashley and Emma, had stopped hiding their amusement. Emma tried to cover her giggle with her hand, but Ashley just laughed openly. My hand tightened around the host's podium like it was the only thing holding me up. Victoria gave this dramatic sigh. You must have known this dinner was not for you. It is a family celebration, private and close. I am family, I said, and even as the words left my mouth, they sounded weak. Her smile sharpened. By marriage. Do not flatter yourself. The host, looking like he wished he could vanish, cleared his throat. Would you like me to check for a seat at the bar, sir? Victoria cut him off with a wave. That will not be necessary. Derek knows where he belongs. She leaned in again, perfume heavy and expensive. Like I said, the bar down the block, beer, televisions, specials, your kind of place. That was when it happened. The instant where something inside me hardened. It was not anger and not sadness, just this sharp, clear realization. I had taken her insults for years. On holidays, birthdays, even my wedding day, when she told me I cleaned up better than she thought I would. And I had smiled through it. But now I saw the truth. This was not passive-aggressive. This was open humiliation. They had brought me here just to cut me down. And Catherine? She was going to sit there and let it happen. I turned back to the host. Actually, I said, brushing my jacket sleeve, could you do me a favor? He blinked. Of course. Go tell James Sullivan I am out front. Victoria snorted. James Sullivan, the owner? I nodded. Yes, tell him Derek Morgan is here. He will know me. The host looked torn, like he did not know if I was kidding. Victoria folded her arms. Are you really serious? I met her stare. That perfect hair, the polished smile, the eyes always searching for weakness. I looked right through her. I am just getting started, I told her. She let out this sharp, brittle laugh, like I had just told the dumbest joke in the room. You think you can bluff your way into this dinner? Do you even realize who eats here? Do you know what this place stands for? I helped build it, I said, keeping my voice steady. Long before you ever even heard the name. That shook her. For the first time, her smile slipped. Catherine still had not spoken. She just kept stirring her drink like she was trying to hypnotize herself. James and I go way back, I added. We opened his first place together in Pearl District. I ran the bar back then. He will remember me. Victoria's lips parted like she was about to throw another jab, but nothing came out. She was caught. The host came back a moment later, eyes wide. Mr. Sullivan is on his way out. Victoria's arms slowly fell to her sides. She turned sharply toward Catherine. What on earth is he talking about? Catherine stayed silent. Not even a glance up from the glass. I looked instead and smiled, because I knew the moment was about to break wide open. Victoria was still trying to decide if I was bluffing when the double doors swung open. James Sullivan walked out, early 60s now, gray streaking his temples, but still built solid like he could haul a keg on one shoulder without breaking a sweat. His eyes swept across the lobby, and the second he spotted me, his face lit up like Christmas. Derek Morgan, he boomed, smiling wide like I had just made his night. Man, it has been forever. He came right over and pulled me into one of those hugs that was half bear squeeze, half backslap. James, I said, letting a touch of surprise show. I did not expect to see you out front yourself. For you? Of course. He grinned, pulling back. Last time I saw you, we were knee-deep in construction dust, arguing about cocktail menus. Yeah, I said with a smirk. And I was right. He laughed. You were. Best-selling drink 4 years running. Ask anybody. Behind me, the host stood frozen. Victoria looked like a statue, her jaw tight, her eyes refusing to blink. Over her shoulder, I finally saw Catherine lift her head from the table. No more pretending I was not there, no more stirring her wine. Her mouth hung open just a little, like she could not believe what she was seeing. James turned toward the host. Get this man whatever he wants. Table, drink, hell, the whole menu if he is hungry. Victoria's face twitched. Wait a minute. James turned to her like he had only just noticed her standing there. I am sorry, are you with Derek? She is my mother-in-law, I said before she could answer. James smiled knowingly. Ah, I booked a table under my husband's name, Victoria tried to explain, fumbling now. It is a family dinner. We were not expecting. James cut her off. Well, you have a table, and now Derek is joining you. Her eyes widened. Excuse me? I will not have him standing out here like he is not welcome. Not in my house. I had to fight back a grin. Victoria looked like she had just swallowed a lemon whole. But the booth is full. I will have another chair brought over, James said, or I will bump the table next to you if I have to. Derek gets a seat. That is final. Victoria opened her mouth again, but shut it without a word. James clapped me on the shoulder. Come on, I want to introduce you to some of the new folks. We brought in talent from the Wellington deal. You remember that wine spot in Seattle we tested? That model is working here now. Glad to hear it, I said. He leaned in slightly. If you ever feel like getting back in the game, there is always a spot for you with me. I nodded. I appreciate that. We stood talking another minute, just long enough for everyone at that table to overhear things like, launched 3 places together, and this man saved me more than once, and he is basically family. Finally, James gave me another solid clap on the back. Get settled. Enjoy yourself. As he headed toward the kitchen, the host turned back to me, looking shaken. Mr. Morgan, would you like me to take you to your table? Victoria looked like she was about to faint. I shrugged, calm as could be. Sure, let's go say hello. We walked past the podium and toward the booth. Catherine's eyes flicked to mine for just a second. No apology, no smile, just guilt, raw and heavy. At the table, Emma opened her mouth like she was about to speak, then thought better of it. Catherine shifted over to give me space. Ashley's expression was a mix of curiosity and unease, and Victoria, she dropped into her seat like her strings had been cut. I sat down slow, laid the napkin on my lap, sat up straight, calm, collected, and for the first time that night, I was not just Catherine's husband. I was the man they had underestimated. And now, the balance had shifted. James had not even made it back to the kitchen before the staff started scrambling, adjusting the table around me. They pulled up an extra chair for me, like it was part of the show. Another server laid down a fresh place setting, unfolding the napkin with a little flourish, as if I were some kind of honored guest. It was not random. James had set the tone, and the staff was following through. Victoria hated every second of it. I saw her flinch each time someone addressed me as Mr. Morgan. Catherine slid her purse out of the way so I could sit beside her. Still not a word from her. As soon as I settled in, the waiter returned. "Would you care to see the wine list, sir?" he asked. Victoria, mid-sip, nearly choked. "Yes," I said casually. "Bring me the limited reserve list. James always sets aside a couple bottles for me." The waiter nodded and hurried off like he was carrying orders from royalty. Victoria tried to regain control. She forced a smile so stiff it looked like her face might crack. "Well," she said, lifting her glass too high, "this is unexpected." "Sure is," I answered, matching her fake cheer. "Catherine never mentioned this was supposed to be a private dinner." "She did not think you would be interested," Victoria said smoothly. "This sort of place is not really for everyone." Catherine kept staring at the tablecloth, eyes locked on the threads like they held her escape. Emma cleared her throat, trying to shift the mood. "So, Derek, you and James really go back that far?" "I ran the bar at his first place when it opened," I told her. "Trained half the staff myself. Later, when he started looking to expand, I helped him draft the investment proposal that pulled in his first partners." Ashley blinked. "Wait, you are actually in the business?" "I was," I said. "Still take on consulting work now and then. In fact, I handled the permit process for this very building." Victoria could not stop herself. "Well, bartending and consulting are hardly the same." I smiled at her. "Exactly. That is why I charged him a six-figure fee for the permit work, and I did not even bill him for the introductions I arranged. That would have been tacky." Catherine set her glass down a little too fast. Victoria tried to laugh, but it came out flat. "Well, some people are just lucky enough to know the right people." "I was not handed anything," I said, tilting my head. "Every connection I have, I earned. Not all of us are born into a Rolodex." Her eyes narrowed. "Some of us understand the importance of legacy." "Sure," I said evenly, "but it helps to check where that legacy's money actually comes from." Catherine twitched at that, just barely. Emma frowned, lost. "What do you mean?" I took a slow sip of water before answering. "Victoria, do you remember when your son-in-law needed cash for his software company a few years back?" She stiffened. "That is not relevant." "It is," I said, folding my napkin across my lap. "Robert was 3 weeks away from defaulting on his bridge loan. I wrote the check, quietly, no spotlight, no parade." Emma and Ashley turned toward their mother in shock. Victoria's face tightened. "That is ancient history." "Funny," I said, "because he still sends me quarterly updates on my stake." Catherine's eyes met mine for the first time all night. Wide, startled, not angry, not afraid, just realizing. The silence stretched heavy across the table. Finally, I leaned back. "Anyway, I am glad to be here. Family dinners matter." The waiter returned with a rare Bordeaux James used to keep locked away, pouring it carefully. Victoria looked like she might shatter the glass in her hand. She muttered, "Service industry types should not." I cut her off, gently but firm. "Victoria, you may want to remind yourself who makes nights like this possible. People like me are the service industry." She clamped her mouth shut, refusing to look at me. Catherine dropped her eyes again, but her ears flushed red. She had let her mother underestimate me for years, assuming I would keep my head down and stay quiet. But not tonight. Tonight, Victoria was not steering this table. I was. I let the silence hang thick and heavy until it felt like fog rolling over the whole booth. Catherine's wine sat untouched. Emma and Ashley kept glancing back and forth, unsure where to land. Victoria gripped her fork like it had insulted her. I looked right at her and smiled. Not smug, not cruel, just certain. "You know, Victoria," I said, placing my napkin on the table, "I have never mentioned any of this before. Not the investments, not the favors, not the quiet bailouts, not once." She gave a tight little smile. And yet here we are. Exactly, I said. Here we are. I leaned in slightly. I think it is time everyone hears a few things. Victoria rolled her eyes like she was already bored. Catherine stayed still, silent, frozen. I did not marry into wealth, I said back. I married into your family. That is the same thing, Victoria muttered. No, I shot back, my tone hard. It is not the same. Because what none of you seem willing to grasp is that I earned every single thing I have. Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat. We know you have a business. No, I cut her off. You think I sling drinks at some corner bar, that I just flip cocktails for tips. The truth is different. I built my first business out of a rented storage unit with $4,000 I saved from construction jobs. From there, I invested in 6 startups, sold 3. By 31, I had bought my first property. Everything I own, I created with my own hands. Victoria gave a sharp scoff. And you think that makes you special? No, I told her flatly. It makes me real. I turned toward Catherine. Do you remember when you wanted that boutique in Alberta Arts District? You were terrified of being turned down for the Business Development Fund loan. She gave the faintest nod. You never got that loan, I said, my voice low but clear, because you did not need it. I fronted every penny, and I told you to tell people it came from a private lender, so you could feel like it was your win. Emma's jaw dropped. I helped her write the plan, sat with her contractor, combed through every lease agreement, I went on, and I never once asked for credit because it was not about me. I turned back to Victoria. It was the same with your husband's firm. He was drowning, and you know it. I stepped in, covered the shortfall, and I never once made it a show. Victoria shook her head, refusing to believe it. And I filled Ashley's tuition gap when she lost her scholarship junior year, I added. Remember the mysterious donor you all thanked in the family group chat? That was me. Catherine's eyes shot up wide with shock. That was you? I nodded. Across the room, James, who had wandered back from the kitchen, called out, Derek kept our payroll afloat 8 months ago when a supplier stalled us. Without him, half my staff would have missed paychecks. The table went dead quiet. You all treat me like I am lucky just to sit here, I said. Like Catherine somehow rescued me. But you have it backwards. Victoria opened her mouth but could not form the words. I did not marry up, I told them. You all married into my future. And I have been carrying this family from behind the curtain for years, quietly. No applause, no spotlight, just making sure you all stayed afloat. I let my eyes meet each of theirs in turn. But I am done being quiet. I am done pretending I am just some lucky tag-along. I am not the background noise in your little dinner theater. I picked up my glass. I am the reason this dinner is happening at all. None of them had a response. For the first time, I did not feel like the outsider at the table. I felt like the one holding the whole table up. But Victoria was not finished. I could see it in the way she straightened her back, tugged at her scarf, bracing herself. She leaned forward, voice sharp as a blade. If all that is true, if you really have done so much, then why do you live the way you do? Catherine supports you, does she not? Catherine sat still, but I heard Emma's gasp. Even Ashley blinked in disbelief. Victoria folded her hands like she was summing up her case in court. You wear nice clothes, drive a new car, always seem to have plenty of free time. That looks like my daughter's hard work paying your way. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. You honestly believe that? I asked. I turned, facing Catherine directly. Tell them where the down payment came from. Catherine froze, said nothing. Catherine, I said again, my voice firmer, tell your mother where the money came from. Still silence. All right, I said, letting out a breath. I will. I turned back to Victoria. Every dollar for that house came from my early trades. I put down 20% before Catherine's shop had even opened its doors. She never told you because she wanted to look independent. And I let her because I loved her. Catherine's face sank like she wanted to disappear under the table. But if we are rewriting history tonight, I continued, let us write it correctly. I invested in her brand. I paid for the storefront build-out. I signed the lease under my limited liability company so she could qualify. That is how it happened. Emma whispered something under her breath. Ashley's eyes widened. And all of that, I said, I did without ever rubbing it in, until now. Victoria reeled back as if I had slapped her. She fumbled for a comeback. Well, money is not everything. What matters is who shows up, who holds this family together. You mean you? I asked. She had no answer. You tried to humiliate me tonight, I said. The calm was gone now. You staged this dinner to prove a point, but it backfired. Catherine finally spoke, her voice so low I almost missed it. I did not think she would actually keep you out. I turned to her, my stare heavy. So you knew. I thought she would calm down, Catherine said, her eyes fixed anywhere but mine. She told me you would not enjoy it anyway, that it was more for the girls. Right, I answered, my voice bitter. Because nothing says sisterly bonding like stabbing your husband in the back with a linen napkin. Nobody spoke. Wine glasses sat full, plates untouched. The whole table had turned cold, or us. This dinner was never about food, I said, pushing back from my chair. It was about clarity. Catherine finally looked up. I held her gaze, not angry, just exhausted. I had already decided to walk, I told her quietly. Tonight only confirmed it. What does that mean? Victoria asked, her voice suddenly shaky. It means, I said, turning toward her, this little performance of yours was not the start of anything, it was the end. Catherine's eyes glazed over. I am not going to yell. I am not going to fight. I am finished. You are bluffing, Victoria spat. No, I said. I am free. I looked around the table one last time. I gave every one of you chances, and all you did was prove I was right to leave. Then I walked out. No shouting, no scene, just the truth. Behind me, the table stayed silent. They knew. They had not just pushed me too far. They had lost the one person who had quietly given them more than they ever deserved. The drive home was quiet. No radio, no phone. Just my hands steady on the wheel and my eyes fixed ahead. It was done. Really done. At the house, I parked in the driveway instead of the garage, a small but deliberate choice. Inside, the place still smelled faintly of the lavender diffuser Catherine always left running in the hall. I did not turn on the lights. I walked straight to the office. In the bottom drawer of the file cabinet, inside a small safe, were the papers. Contracts, bank records, stock certificates, the investment ledgers for Catherine's boutique. Her company was under her name, just like she wanted, but I had structured my funding as equity. 60% of it belonged to me. I pulled the folder out, laid it on the desk, and began taking pictures. Every document, every transfer, every signature. I uploaded everything to the cloud and backed it up to an external drive. I was not leaving anything behind. Then I opened the closet and dragged out the gray suitcase I usually saved for business trips. I packed slowly, without emotion. A few changes of clothes, my laptop, my watch, my passport, the charger she was always borrowing and never returning. I left the closet half full on purpose. I was not sneaking away, I was walking out. I set the suitcase by the door and sat on the couch to wait. Around 11:15, I heard the key turn. Catherine came in, heels clicking on the tile. She did not see me at first. She dropped her bag on the entry table, kicked off her shoes, acting like everything was normal, like tonight had not blown up what was left of our marriage. When she turned and saw me sitting there in the dark, she jumped. Jesus, Derek. I did not move. Hey, her eyes darted to the suitcase. What are you doing? I stood. I am leaving. Her eyes went from the bag to me. You are serious. I was serious when I said it at dinner. I thought you were just mad that you needed to cool off. I shook my head. Catherine, I have been cooling off for 7 years. She crossed her arms, trying to stay composed. So that is it. You were walking out after one bad dinner? I laughed under my breath. One bad dinner? You sat there and watched your mother mock me to my face, and you said nothing. You let her exclude me from a dinner I paid for half of, in a restaurant I helped build. Do you even hear yourself? She told me you were not going to come, she said defensively. She said it was just for the girls. I did not know. Stop. I cut in. You knew exactly what kind of woman your mother is, and you let her stage this. Catherine lowered her eyes. So now what? You just leave? I picked up the suitcase. I already have. She stared at me. You are going to regret this. No, I said calmly. You are. She scoffed. You think you will be fine without me? I set the suitcase down and pulled one last document from my inside pocket, a clean, signed summary of ownership for her boutique. I own 60%, I said, holding it up. Her face went blank. What? You asked for a loan. I gave you equity. You signed it twice. You never read the fine print because you trusted me, and I never used it against you until now. She stepped closer. Catherine, I am not taking your business, I said. I am just not protecting it anymore. You wanted things separate? Fine, we are separate. She looked like she wanted to argue, but did not. I opened the door. Goodbye, Catherine. And I stepped out. I did not slam the door behind me. I did not have to. I had walked away with the one thing they never imagined I would take, my control. The next morning, I expected silence. Instead, I woke up to chaos. By the time I finished my coffee, there were 23 missed calls on my phone, 7 from Catherine, 12 from Victoria, the rest from numbers I did not recognize, probably her sisters borrowing other phones or family friends Victoria had roped in to talk some sense into me. I ignored them all. Then came the messages. Catherine first. We need to talk. Then, please, I told Mom you were bluffing. Tell me you are not doing this. Another, you cannot do this. You do not even care about the boutique. Then Victoria's text, straight to the throat, you are a disgrace. You embarrass this family. You will not get away with this. That one made me laugh out loud. An hour later, her lawyer tried calling. I saw the firm name flash on the screen, big downtown office, the type that usually handles spoiled kids suing their roommates over loud music. I let it ring. Instead, I messaged my own attorney, a man who still owed me for helping him through a nasty property fight years ago. Time to activate the exit plan. Boutique ownership clause goes live. His reply came instantly. Already drafting. Let them swing first. That was the thing Victoria never understood. She thought wealth was about show, last names on plaques, oversized houses, invitations to dinners nobody enjoyed. I made my life on the opposite approach. I kept money quiet. I let contracts do the talking. And because of that, they never saw me coming. By noon, Catherine tried guilt. My employees are scared. They are asking if the store is closing. Do not punish them for our marriage. I never thought you would turn into this. You promised me forever. And she was right. I had promised. Back when forever meant something. That afternoon, Victoria marched into the boutique, telling the staff everything was under control. She did not realize one of them had already forwarded my signed ownership papers to the team, documents showing I held majority control now, and that operations would run through me. Within hours, 2 of Catherine's most loyal workers resigned. By the end of the week, foot traffic slowed to a trickle. I did not sabotage her. I did not need to. Word spreads fast when people learn the golden girl they worshipped was standing on someone else's foundation. Catherine made one last attempt. You do not want this in court. Let's be adults. I replied with a photo of the investor agreement, her signature next to mine. The equity split circled in red, 60-40. She never answered. A day later, her lawyer finally reached mine. They wanted to renegotiate the terms. My attorney did not even bother with a draft. He just sent them the clause that said ownership was permanent and non-revocable in the event of divorce. They were stunned, because everything they believed rested on assumptions that I would always be polite, dependable, easy to manage, but I was not angry anymore. I was finished. A few days later, I got a call from the leasing office of the luxury condo Catherine and I had once toured together. Back then, Victoria had convinced her it was too much space for a couple without kids. What none of them knew was that I had quietly bought the place 8 months ago, in my name. When I rolled in with my suitcase, the front desk manager smiled. Mr. Morgan, your keys are ready. That night, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, bourbon in hand, scrolling through one last voicemail from Victoria. Her voice hissed through the speaker. This is not over, Derek. You need us more than you think. I smiled, because that was the twist she never saw coming. I never needed them. They needed me. And now they were on their own. A few weeks later, I sat on the balcony of my penthouse, morning light spilling across the skyline, wondering why I had not done this sooner. The condo was quiet. No passive-aggressive jabs. No slammed doors. No fake civility stretched thin across cold silences. Just peace. Just mine. The divorce papers had been finalized 10 days earlier. Clean break. No alimony, no shared assets, freedom. My lawyer made sure every clause tied to the boutique was ironclad. Catherine never even tried to contest the paperwork in the end. I think she understood it would only get uglier if she did. I left her the house, the furniture, even the wedding china Victoria had insisted we register for just to keep up appearances. I took my name off everything that was not worth the fight and kept what mattered. My assets stayed secure, my portfolio untouched, my dignity reinforced. A few days after the divorce papers were signed, James called. "You finally did it," he said, his tone more relieved than surprised. "Did what?" "Cut loose the anchor. I always wondered how long you were going to let that family weigh you down." "You and me both," I said, laughing. But James had not called just to chat. He had an offer, a high-end whiskey lounge right in the heart of Austin. He wanted a partner with real experience, someone who had earned his stripes. "You helped me build my first four," he said. "Let's build you one now." I did not hesitate. "Send me the specs," I told him. "Let's make it happen." That same week, Victoria tried calling again. I let it ring until it stopped, then blocked her number. The next day, she tried her sister's phone. Blocked that too. I was done listening to backpedaling dressed up as apologies or olive branches soaked in vinegar. That bridge was not just burned. I bulldozed it and paved over the ashes. Then Catherine texted. 3 words: "Can we talk?" No apology, no explanation, no context. I stared at the message for a moment, then set my phone face down on the patio table. Some things do not need an answer. A week later, a finance alert popped up from a monitoring service still tied to the boutique. Public notice, Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It did not surprise me. Without my systems, supplier contracts, tax prep, payroll automation, the boutique was just a beautiful space with a fragile brand. I did not celebrate, but I did feel clear. For the first time, I was free of a family that never really saw me, free of the weight of trying to prove myself to people who only saw me as Catherine's quiet, convenient husband. The man left off group texts. The man told to wait in the car. No more. Now, when I walked into a room, it was on my own terms. When I looked in the mirror, I saw the man who built everything with his own hands and walked away when it no longer served him. The man who did not beg for a seat at the table when he could buy the building next door. The man who did not need approval from people who had never earned his respect. And best of all, I had not just escaped their story. I had begun writing my own. It was a quiet Saturday morning, the kind when the whole city feels half asleep. I sat on the balcony with a cup of coffee in one hand and my phone in the other, scrolling the news. That is when I saw it. Buried in the business section of the Portland Tribune, Robert Harrison steps down as managing partner of Harrison Capital Group amid financial restructuring. I clicked before I realized. The article was short, just corporate filler. Undisclosed financial difficulties, reorganization strategy, temporary leadership adjustment. But I knew the truth. I knew which loan had come due, the one refinanced 18 months ago, the one I had co-signed and quietly floated while Robert shuffled credit cards to keep the lights on. Without me, they could not make the payment. No more safety net, no more quiet bailouts, and now, no more firm. I set the phone down, leaned back in my chair, and stared out at the skyline. The sun was climbing. A soft breeze rolled over the balcony. Below, the world kept moving. Up here, it was just silence. Clean, poetic silence. They thought they could erase me, push me off stage, shrink me into a footnote in Catherine's curated life. But they missed the point. I had been holding the pen the whole time. I wrote checks with no name attached. I signed contracts no one bothered to read. I sat through years of shallow smiles and fake gratitude. Waiting. Always waiting for someone to actually see me. They never did, so I stopped waiting. And I started rewriting, not out of revenge, not even out of anger, out of self-respect. I did not burn down their world. I just stopped patching the holes they refused to acknowledge. And when it all collapsed, they finally understood what I was worth, not because I told them, but because I left. The phone buzzed against the table. Another text from Catherine. "I did not know he was stepping down. Thought you would want to know." I read it. I smiled. And I let it sit there without a reply because she still did not understand. This was never about staying tied to them or being updated or kept in their circle. This was about the night they shut me out and me realizing I did not need to stand outside their door anymore. So I drew a new circle, larger, stronger, my own. And that was the real legacy. Not the checks, not the contracts, not the titles or the shares. The freedom to hear the next story. Click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.